Go with it!
I need the morphine!
Directed by Luke Sparke, we are talking Primitive War, and this is based off a series of novels and is a medium budget kind of B movie. I believe the budget was around $10 million or possibly slightly less than that even. Ironically, this is the second Dinosaurs in Vietnam movie that I've seen in 2025. Commando Ninja 2 also had this concept, so there you go. It is the year of dinosaurs in Vietnam. And this one stars a number of recognisable TV actors. Ryan Kwanten, who you may know from True Blood. Tricia Helfer, who you may know from Battlestar Galactica. And Jeremy Piven, who you may know from Entourage, as well as other projects. And it tells the story of a recon team sent to a valley to try and find out what has happened to some Green Berets that have gone missing, who are on a kind of a classified mission. And when they are in this valley, they encounter dinosaurs, variety of different species. What the hell are they doing there, and how are the Russians involved? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let us discuss. I believe this is actually an Australian movie, I want to say. So what works in this movie's favour? It's a goofy concept, I have to say, but it's certainly a fun B-movie concept. Obviously, dinosaurs in films are nothing new, but it's having them put in a war zone with Vietnam-era soldiers is certainly a fun concept. And these are soldiers who are not expected to kind of come across this, so it's not like, you know, Jurassic World where we know at this point that the dinosaurs are there. These are completely caught unawares, and it will remind you of those kind of fun, like Primal Species movies that you kind of got in the, you know, the good old days of, you know, VHS rental and stuff like that. So it's a fun but goofy concept, and considering the budget is, you know, low for this kind of level of VFX heavy movie, it's very impressive when you again compare this to the likes of the Jurassic Park movies and what they're able to do with a fraction of the budget. Now, obviously, I wouldn't say this looks as good as obviously the Jurassic World movies. But again, when you take into consideration the considerably lower budget to this, it's particularly impressive. And the budget's not just on the dinosaurs themselves; it's the kind of the recreation of this kind of Vietnam era war setting with all the kind of the military and helicopters and all the rest of it as well. Large cast and things like that. So it's incredibly impressive in regards to what is able to be done here for the budget that it actually kind of has. The movie has kind of lots of kind of set pieces, and the movie is relatively smart with making that budget kind of sort of stretch. A lot of these sequences are during the night, so it sort of somewhat kind of hides the CGI to a degree. Now, there is a downside to that, which we will talk about, but the upshot of it is obviously we can kind of have this seemingly high budget movie, but it costing a fraction of what you might think it might cost. And the CGI, I have to say, looks pretty good, and the dinosaurs look good. And let's talk about those dinosaurs, because they have got a more modern idea about what dinosaurs look like. They are more feathered compared to the original Jurassic Park style kind of dinosaurs that we had in those films. And they are a lot more vibrant in colour and stuff like that. So, and there's a good variety of them as well. I mean, not all of them have a lot to do, but we do see a good many species of dinosaurs, both carnivore and herbivore. So you get a good variety of kind of different ones kind of cropping up here. The movie also gives us a secondary kind of like antagonist in the form of both VC, although that's really at the beginning of the movie, but primarily Russians as well, who are the people responsible for the dinosaurs during a plot point that you'll learn through the movie. We get a variety of, different. We get an aerial assault, we get attacked by water, and obviously we get land attacks as well. So there is a good variety here of, kind of different sorts of, adventures that are in this kind of dinosaur-filled land. We do have some quieter moments, and there are some more dramatic moments. We've got one member of this squad who's kind of suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that, so he can't really cope. Tricia Helfer's character is actually a Russian scientist that ends up helping the squad, and she is addicted to drugs, and so we have a little bit of kind of scenes with her having to kind of cope without the kind of the drug use and things like this. So the movie has these quieter character moments as well, and some of the kind of the interplay between the characters is as much about the brotherhood of being in country together as it is about kind of monsters outside and things like that. So there is a reasonable job in sort of characterization, and I do feel you actually kind of get to know the members of this squad. I think it's a 7-man squad, so there's not too many of them, and as such you do feel like you get to know these sort of characters to a degree at least. And therefore, inevitably, when some of them come croppers, you feel that loss a little more, I would say. The pacing of the movie, although this movie is quite long, I will still say I think the pacing of the movie is still fairly briskly paced. You never really go too long without a kind of a dinosaur encounter or some type of set piece. So despite its somewhat long running time, possibly a little bit over long, I think that the movie's pace doesn't really ever drag too much. Maybe it takes a little bit of time to get going, but it is once you are there, it's still a kind of a fun movie. And that's the thing with this movie. It has its problems, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But overall, the sense of admittedly somewhat sort of goofy fun is palpable in this movie. So let's talk about what doesn't look. And as I've just mentioned, maybe it is a little bit long for its own good. I think it could have been a slightly tighter movie had we maybe just about 20 minutes or so kind of snipped off this. I do think it maybe is just a tad longer than it needed to be, if we're being honest. And just to kind of cover off something else that I said, and maybe this is as best as they could do it. The movies, as I say, a lot of it takes place during the night, and that is, I think, probably so we can kind of hide some of the sort of CGI, which at times does look obviously lower budget than the likes of Jurassic World and everything like that, which is understandable. It is a lower budget movie. So I do think, although it's smart to kind of have a lot of these kind of scenes set at night, the downside is that sometimes you can't really see what's kind of going on. And there are times, especially when it's raining, you're just kind of watching shapes moving around in the dark, and you can't really see what's going on particularly well. So you could arguably say, yeah, the decision to have a lot of these kind of scenes in the night probably makes the effects stretch that little bit further than they maybe would have done and look better. The downside is, though, it's hard to see what's going on, and you kind of lose track sometimes of what's actually happening on screen. I think some of the decisions was a little bit on the nose. For example, the first kind of 60s song we hear is like Fortunate Son. It's like, oh man, if there's one Vietnam song which has been a little bit kind of overplayed now, it's that. But it's kind of the first song we hear. It's a great song, don't get me wrong, but it's in every Vietnam movie. We have like Russians speaking English in a kind of Russian accent. Weirdly, we actually get a couple of sequences where they speak Russian to each other, as in Russian speaking Russian to Russian, but then for the most of it, they speak English, but in a Russian accent, and I don't think it seems quite cheesy, with those when it does that. I mean, why have these scenes, the couple of scenes where they actually speak Russian with subtitles, and then but for the 90% of when we have Russian characters, they are speaking English, even if it's to other Russian characters. That to me it makes the movie certainly seemed more B-movie. Had they had those scenes in Russian, I think it, you know, it could have maybe not felt quite as a B-movie as it kind of does. You know, just my personal opinion. And then speaking about Russians, I have to say, I think Tricia Helfer is miscast as a Russian. I don't really think she pulled it off, if I'm honest. You know, she's doing this kind of Russian accent, and you know, I have to say, I don't think the acting was strong, if we're being honest. I think she did a good job with the kind of like when she's jonesing for drugs and things. But just in the dialogue sequence, you know, I don't think it helps, as they say, that she's depicted as a Russian who pretty much only ever speaks English. But yeah, I didn't think her delivery was particularly strong. And I have to see some of the other actors as well. Again, it's a lot of either unknown or sort of TV actors. We understand I guess it's the budget. And the dialogue as well sometimes is a little bit sort of, you know, again, a little bit B-movie, to be honest with you. And the kind of the whole concept of the dinosaurs, why they are there, is sort of somewhat glossed over. I mean, with the Jurassic Park movies, it's quite a big thing about how they were produced, and it kind of makes sense. Here it's just kind of like a couple of lines of dialogue, and yeah, well, you know, they were created by some experiment. Great. So again, it really leads into that sort of that B-movie sensibility without really worrying too much about being sort of particularly sort of realistic. But it's not like a spoofy movie, it's not like a comedy or a campy movie. It is taking itself, you know, seriously, but it doesn't worry itself too much with some of the details, shall we say. Even like very minor things like Jeremy Piven's character has got like a beard. I'm thinking, I don't think you can have a beard in the military at that point. So, you know, small things, but other things as more plot points as well. But again, don't think about a bit too much, I guess you would say. Now, yeah, there is some problems, but I think if you go into this with a B-movie mindset and you're just thinking, okay, you're watching a large budget B-movie, there's lots to have fun with in this movie. And it is a fun movie, it's a fun concept, lots of action set pieces, likeable characters, if a little bit kind of on the nose and hokey and typical, but still fun, with some very impressive kind of work done for the relative low budget that it is, and yeah, good set pieces, a fun movie overall, and a neat concept. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. I'll be honest with you, I was going to go with a 6 because it is cheesy, but I'm going to give it a 7 because I just think the overall fun aspect here just elevates it to me to a 7, if I'm honest. So there you go. Have you seen it? What were your thoughts? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.